Hello and welcome to the Q&A for Alleyway, which is part of the digital short series competition for SeriesFest Season 6. And you will have just watched the pilot and hopefully are hungry for more episodes, which we're going to learn about today and get to know the creator, the creator Marcus, who's joined us, waving down in my corner, and then also two of the fantastic cast that you got to watch today. We have Reggie, who plays Petey, and we have Naomi, who plays Reagan. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yes. Well, so the audience will have just watched, I think is it the season 2 starter, Marcus? Is the season 2's episode 1.
Sure.
Could you give like a brief history of season 1 and what got Bernie to this point?
Well, basically, Alleyway is about a down on his luck writer named Bernie Dixon who basically moves to LA with the promise of a project. He's sort of got a hot property that he just wrote and everything almost takes off, almost. But the star of the project drops out and that whole project crashes and burns. So he spends the whole first season just sort of on his back stoop. He sits off the alley with his laptop, sort of trying to come up with his next great TV idea. So we meet all the characters around the neighborhood. And at the start of season 2, which you saw, he's on to something. It's kind of a life imitating art, new project that he's written actually about the alleyway.
Okay. And speaking of life imitating art, I'm assuming that there's some personal ties to this, and I'd love to hear about where this idea came from and, the genesis of this project.
Yes. Well, I am a writer myself, so that part is similar. Although my character is very different than myself. I think these other actors who are also my friends can attest that I've got a much softer touch in real life than the character Bernie. But Naomi, who plays Reagan, she's right there, lived in the same building. We've been friends for a long time, and we live in that building where I shoot the project. And over the course of many years living there, we would see things go down in the alley and would joke about the fact that, man, we could just look out of my back window and it was basically like looking out into live theater, and said to ourselves, this could be a show. And so when I was looking to do something, to make something, I remembered those conversations and I was like, well, let's make it a show. So a lot of the storylines that you see, especially in season 1, if you go back, are based on real life alley occurrences.
I believe it, as someone who also has a view to an alleyway outside her window right now. Yeah. And so Reggie, how did you get introduced to the project, and what really drew you to, I mean, Bernie is such I know he seems a little curmudgeon-y in the pilot, but I do think that there's something about you want to be friends with this guy and you're rooting for him. So what drew you to wanting to be involved with this project?
Well, I've known Marcus for about 20 years now, almost close to that. And we used to work at Houston's Hillstone restaurant. And I used to play this joke all the time, acting like a kid, where I used to kind of do this facial thing, and it kind of de-ages me, and I got this whole thing. So one day we were at dinner at a friend's house, and he was like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this web series. And I was like, okay. He's like, and I want you to play the kid. I want you to play that character that you did 10, 15 years ago. And I'm like, all right. He was like, so it's called Alleyway. And he was explaining, and I go to Marcus. I've been to Marcus' house. Like, we had keys to each other's house. So I know the alleyway. I knew all about it. And he was like, I would like you to be kind of like Bernie's antagonist. Because when I read it, I was like, Bernie's perfect and Petey's perfect to be the one who messes with him all the time. And Marcus and I have had such a great relationship, and we've worked together on a lot of projects, but we never were like at like odds with each other in characters, and this was a fun thing to play. So he brought it to me, and I was in from the start.
Yeah. So if the viewers go back and watch season 1, that's episode 2, you get introduced to Petey, and we meet him as a high school kid who was selling candy bars to raise money for his high school football team.
Got it.
So, yeah, and I mean, that's one of those things. We'll have the kids with the buckets that come around selling the candy, and you wonder, is this really for a fundraiser?
Yeah.
So, he was established in that episode as sort of the neighborhood con man, hustle man. Like, he's sort of likable. He has a way of getting you to do what he wants you to do. Even Bernie, who thinks he cannot be gotten, ends up doing what this guy wants him to do.
Yeah. And it's an ongoing battle through the next season, through season 2, as you saw in the first episode, and it keeps going. So all the way to the end. So it's a great dynamic between the two. A great yin and yang is what I call it.
Definitely. Well, and Naomi, we see you kind of briefly in season 2, episode 1, but obviously your character has it's a little bit of a hint of what's going to come and the conflict to come. Can you guys tease that out of what Naomi's character arc will be as Reagan in season 2?
In season 2, well, Marcus, I feel like this is a writer question.
Okay. Well, so this is his best friend. Like, they've been friends for a long time.
Which, by the way, sorry, Reg, but I've known him for 35. Just saying.
Naomi, I know.
Not a competition.
I know the history. I know the history. I've known you for pretty much as long as I've known Marcus because of Marcus.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're yes. Continue, Marcus.
Well, there's primarily, Reagan is like, they have a nice little rapport back and forth. And one of the storylines that we deal with throughout season 2, and I think you see this, is that, there's a couch that's dumped in the alley. Which, Bernie has been known to dump things back there for the purpose of recycling. But in this case, there's a couch dumped and it attracts a squatter. And Bernie is determined to get rid of this squatter.
But it's not just any old squatter. It's a hot homeless man. Which just totally happened.
Right.
All the time.
So Bernie is used to Reagan getting on board with him to do whatever they need to get done around the building. Like, he can rely on her partnership. But in this case, he slowly begins to find out that maybe she's working against him, making life a little too easy for this homeless guy in the alley, which doesn't make him want to leave. It makes him want to stay.
Right.
And she even takes him on sort of as a pet project to sort of turn his life around.
Well, he's a fixer-upper, right, Reagan?
Of course. He has so much potential.
And we as women can fix men, so.
Right.
That's been proven, right?
It's been proven. I'm not going to argue with that.
Well, you have an incredible cast. Obviously, you guys have a natural chemistry with your friendship, and you bring in some pretty recognizable folks also. Like, did you go through a casting process with this, or is it just a group of friends and that love it and it's a passion project?
I would say more on that passion end. I mean, having worked in and around the industry for so long, like, some of my closest friends are legit working, uber talented people. Like Naomi, fans will recognize her from her 2 seasons on American Horror Story, playing Pepper, a fan favorite character. Reggie is like I call him the commercial king. His State Farm She Shed commercial is just one commercial. He's very visible in that one. But if you watch closely, you'll see this guy pop up in a lot of commercials, a lot of other TV work. So this is just my crew. So I was like, why even go through a casting director when I have at my disposal so much talent. And that's what I chose to do with my friends and, you know, also with some of my clients. I'm an acting coach. You know, I sort of do that on the side. And actually, the first season of Alleyway was made up entirely of folks that I've coached and worked with because I wanted to, you know, give them a chance to sort of be showcased. And then in season 2, we add people like John Marshall Jones, who is one of the most well-known faces on television. Even if you don't know his name, you've seen that face. And he brings so much life and humor to his character. So, you know.
But is he? Don't you remember when Bernie says that? When they're like, he's such a big name. He's like, is he?
I love the part at the coffee shop and they're like, we're big fans. And Bernie goes, well, you guys.
Yeah.
I didn't actually say that as genius.
Funny.
Yeah.
But it's true. We've all known each other forever. It's not a competition. When you've been at it for hundreds of years, as we all have in Hollywood, you invariably, you know, reach a certain level of success, and you know, we're still in it together.
Does it make it challenging shooting something like this? Like, when you schedule your shoots, do you have to, you know, you're balancing a lot of different other obligations and schedules. So when you plan this, are you doing it in more of a container, or is it a stretched out shooting schedule?
Well, Marcus definitely needs to speak to this, but there was a certain scheduling conflict that no one could have foreseen. And that was the last episode. I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a pivotal episode between Bernie and another character who decided to have a baby that day.
Right.
So
this big scene without
half of the
Yeah.
that was a challenge.
There is a build up to a fight that goes down between Bernie and another character, and we knew that Gabe Devine, his wife, was pregnant. We knew that, and in fact, we scheduled this to be either before or after. I specifically scheduled it around the due date.
Before. And then she went early.
She went early. I was like, we picked this date for this baby. But
baby.
Yeah. And it was my biggest scene. Like, I needed a lot of, you know, background. So I, you know, as a clever independent producer, through party. Did like a big barbecue to attract people and lure them in with the free food, so I'd have the numbers to then interrupt the party and quickly shoot this, you know, big sort of showdown scene. But we ended up having to shoot half of it. So I'm getting ready to fight someone. So we're shooting all this stuff, but we just never see in the same shot the other character.
Right.
And then later we had to go in and, you know, pack in a few.
Movie magic.
Movie magic.
Totally.
Marcus did a great job of balancing everybody's schedules, because I think I was actually working on something and a few other people were working, and he just would call us and be like, do you have this block? We have this block for this. And we had to pick a certain block to come shoot because everybody was working, thank goodness, or some people had jobs or what have you. And he just would kind of give us an idea of the schedule, and then he just kind of like tweaked it himself and with his DP and then the directors, and then just kind of had us funnel in for a few hours at a time sometimes, and then make the magic happen. He was, you know, it was just such an easy set to go on, boom, 3-4 hours, you're out, and then come back and do that same episode another day, because that's just a schedule, and he made it work. It's still incredible to me.
We kept it real.
I mean, but that baby showed us, you know, like, what a diva. You know what I mean? Like, gee whiz, you got all these professional actors who are willing to like accommodate and make it happen, and like this baby's like, nope, I'm coming today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's truly got an independent spirit to it. And Marcus, it's so great to hear these stories from behind the scenes of you being the champion. And that's kind of why we call our filmmakers creators, because you are doing everything yourself. And you are doing this on purpose because this story means something to you.
Yeah.
And so I have one more question before we wrap up. And it actually does involve the casting part, because there's a big scene in the cafe where you are getting kind of pressured about who you would cast as yourself. And I was wondering how personal that question might be, where you had someone suggest that someone else should play you, or like if you get that a lot of like, just like the typecasting.
Oh yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah, of course.
Marcus wrote a big movie, not to like be his publicist all of a sudden, but he wrote a movie called The List that was produced several years ago. Wayne Brady played him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It wasn't exactly you, Marcus, but Bernie isn't exactly you either.
Right.
I just know I'm upset because my role was given to Jane Lynch.
Well, my role was given to Flex Alexander, so but I still got a role.
Your role, Naomi, was given to Ileana Douglas.
Oh, right. The more expensive version of me at the time.
But yeah, to answer your question, like that, it was specifically a nod to some of the typecasting that you do face, especially as a actor that has like a physical attribute like the size. I'm like, I can play many things. Don't just couch me into one thing because I might look a particular way. So there's a lot of little winks to the industry and some of the things that I've sort of encountered, and it's really fun to sort of just be able to sort of passively comment on that and still have fun doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think I felt that throughout the series of how personal it is to you, which I think is what carries it. I mean, 2 seasons is a lot to accomplish as an independent creator. So yes, kudos to all of you guys. And where can we see the rest of the episodes?
Well, it's most popular on Facebook. If you find our Facebook page, that's where there's a community of people that watch it and comment on it and share it. But if you're not on Facebook, because I know a lot of
What's the link on Facebook, Marcus?
Huh?
What's the link on Facebook?
Well, you just got to search Alleyway series.
Okay.
And you'll find our fan page. But if you're not on Facebook, alleywayseries.com is easy to remember. And you can find all the episodes there, alleywayseries.com.
Fantastic. Well, it's literally the fastest Q&As ever. I feel like I could pick all of your brains and continue learning about these fantastic characters. But mostly I just want to say congratulations. And we're so thankful to have you in the SeriesFest family. And Denver next year? Can we do this?
Yes, I'm
Yes!
I'm in.
Let me go buy my ticket right now. Come on.
They're pretty cheap right now. So.
They're pretty cheap.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day. I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.